Welcome to the first video in the series on making data count. Throughout this series of videos, we're going to take you through some of the things to help you get started with using a data-driven approach to service delivery. In some of these videos, we're going to be showing examples from the RCSLT online outcome tool, Root, just to illustrate some of the principles and bring the topic to life. If you're not using the Root though, don't worry, as the content has been developed to be more widely applicable. It's important to distinguish between data, information, and intelligence, because intelligence is what we're trying to get to. Data is something like gender or age or condition of a patient. Using data, we create information. This is when we bring bits of data together. So perhaps, for example, we look at how many people in a service are being given therapy for dysphagia or how many for aphasia. Intelligence is when we use information to tell a story and make decisions. For example, looking at reasons underpinning a difference in outcomes and making a change accordingly. Or if we've implemented a change, we gather data and information to generate evidence of the impact of that change. That's intelligence. And that's what these videos are about. How do we gather data, turn it into information, and finally create intelligence? So, one form of data is routinely collected data. This is what you collect in your day-to-day practice as a healthcare professional. It could include case notes, assessment scores, or outcome measures. And then there might be more general information in electronic patient records like demographic information, age, gender, ethnicity, as well as contacts, referrals, and pathways. Now, when it comes to data, you get qualitative data and quantitative data. Qualitative data is when we use words to describe something, whereas quantitative data is when we use numbers. Quantitative data can be analysed in primarily two ways. Number one, using descriptive statistics. These describe, count, and detect patterns and trends, but do not aim to establish cause and effect. So, for example, the average age of people with X condition, or the number of people who've been treated for X condition. And number two, using inferential statistics. These allow you to make inferences. It uses statistical processes to test a hypothesis and helps us to say, for example, findings indicate that intervention X causes an improvement in word retrieval. How can routinely collected data be used to support the delivery of quality services? Well, it can be used in a number of different ways. Individual clinicians can use it in their day-to-day work. Services can pool their data and use it to see trends occurring across a service. And as a profession, we can use it to look at the bigger picture of speech and language therapy across the UK. So let's start at the individual clinician level. You can use it to show and share progress for individual service users, families, and other professionals. It can inform your clinical decisions and facilitate goal setting. You can use it to answer your clinical questions, and it's useful in supporting reflective practice, evidence-based practice, and your CPD. At the service level, you can evaluate the effectiveness of your service provision, as well as areas for improvement across your service. It can help with the planning and redesign of services, and you can make the case for any changes to ways of working. You can also demonstrate the value of the work you do to other colleagues, as well as funders and commissioners. At the professional level, we use it to produce evidence for the wider profession which complements the existing evidence base. We use it to demonstrate the value of speech and language therapy to the public, policymakers, funders, and commissioners to raise the profile of the profession. And ultimately, it can be used to support our lobbying and influencing work on behalf of the profession and service users. So let's have a look at using outcome measures data at a service level to develop information and intelligence about clinical services. What does this mean in practice? Imagine the chart here is from your service. It shows the proportion of autistic children with language difficulties on your caseload who improve, maintain, or decline in their therapy outcome measures for participation after a period of therapy. It shows there's quite a large proportion who are actually declining in their outcomes. So, based on this and a thorough investigation, you decide to implement a new type of intervention, group language sessions based on special interests. At the next quarterly review, you run the same analysis. This time you see that none of your service users are declining, it appears the new intervention may have helped. So in terms of evidence-based practice, or EBP, our findings indicate that the group language sessions may have played a role in improving participation outcomes. It provides evidence of your expertise as a clinician on what works, and depending on size, scale, and robustness, could lead to the creation of scientific evidence. And that brings us to the end of the first video in the Making Data Count series.